Welcome. My name is Oliver, and this is my Affinity Space presentation on friendliness pellets, the Undertale subreddit. I am currently not much of a consistent video game player, but I've enjoyed video games all my life. As a kid, I played a fair amount of video games. I especially loved, and still love, early to mid-90s role-play games, RPGs. When looking for a good game that would grab my interest, my game-obsessed little brother recommended Undertale with the promise that I would love it. Playing Undertale and then interacting with the Undertale Affinity Space transformed my understanding of games, playfulness, affinity spaces, the relationship between games and learning, and the ability of games to empower learners. In order to understand my personal evolution through this affinity space, it is necessary to understand a little about Undertale, for those who are unfamiliar. Undertale is a top-down role-playing game in which you, the protagonist, have fallen into the underworld of monsters with varying degrees of friendliness. The tone of the game is very tongue-in-cheek and sarcastic with lots of quirky characters and charms. In many ways, it seems like a parody of early video games, and to some degree assumes the player is familiar with them. It is possible, and often encouraged, to avoid fighting in the game and even befriend, or at least show mercy to monsters you encounter. Part 1. User Behavior. How do users in this community interact with the space? This is Friendliness Pellets, the Undertale subreddit. It is a fairly large community with over 7,000 members from all over the world. There are absolutely no barriers to access, and becoming a part of this subreddit only requires a click on the subscribe option. Before becoming a participant via posting or responding to a post, I decided to become sufficiently acquainted with this subreddit by reading all available information and observing how other members behave in the space. I started with general information on the right-hand side of the screen. This includes a brief description of the game and its uniqueness to many other popular video games. Also, you see a list of blue stop signs, which contains a list of rules for the affinity space. No sexually suggestive content, no promoting unauthorized merchandise, no soliciting for non-Undertale activities, pitting against outsiders, or posting about upvotes. Link to artist's post when contributing fan art unless the site in question is not safe to view in public. And be nice, no slurs. Also posted is the Reddit user agreement, the Reddit content policy, and a link to Reddit. I should also note there is a link to the FAQ, how to make special custom dialog boxes, and special text and emotes. People are really into Undertale. I should also note that there is a post at the top welcoming users to Undertale, the 2nd anniversary edition of this subreddit. And one of the things I wanted to point out here is the retiring of the spoiler rule. Previously, spoilers were flat out rejected. People in this community take this rule very seriously. As things are now, people mark spoilers, but they aren't simply banished from the community at all. It is very important to all users that everyone has an approach to this game that is fresh and not ruined. Because of this unofficial no spoiler rule, most of the content is contributed artwork. All artwork that is inspired by the game. Now, there are some questions and requests for help, but they are pretty limited because the game has a very simple approach, and although there are 3 different endings and lots of different custom ways to play the game, it is accessible. It is easy for pretty much any user to play. Part 2. My participation in the Undertale subreddit. One day, I finally felt inspired to participate. I felt like I was familiar enough with the rules and customs, official and otherwise, to actually post something or comment on something. I saw posts titled, "Well damn, this game's good," and for those who had a strong emotional response or connection to the game, and felt like they were a good place to start. So, I contributed posts like this one, about how much I enjoyed playing the game, and the nostalgia element. Then I moved on to actually surfing the web to see if there were any fun activities or other things I could contribute, and I found a character description generator and posted it right here. Then I found a link to some official merchandise. I posted the link, and this is where things get interesting. I got a response, but apparently someone reported me for violating the no promotion of merchandise rule. But someone else jumped on it, a moderator. Because it's official, it was okay. This was a little embarrassing for me. In another case, I responded to a post called The Sound Truth About the Current State of Undertale. This post was more about just what the purpose of the space was, and I mentioned, I'm kinda new here, but it seems that the subreddit mostly consists of Undertale-inspired art. Do anyone agree? And yeah, I got some responses to that. Lastly, I started contributing some things of my own. Like this. One poster posted this backdrop and invited us all to post our picture in there, or the picture of anyone. So I did, and I contributed it. Part 3. How my understanding of gaming and affinity spaces has transformed since interacting with the Undertale subreddit. My understanding of gaming and affinity spaces has evolved significantly since I joined this subreddit. Above all else, I have learned that the most important aspect is playfulness, is silliness. Someone once said, once you get serious about something, it loses all its magic, and I have found that to be true. I have also learned that affinity spaces themselves take on the tone of whatever it is they represent, whatever it is their purpose is. Undertale is a silly game for a person who enjoys playfulness. And they want to spread the experience as far and wide as possible, hence the dedication to no spoilers and a space primarily for the purpose of everyone screaming collectively, "We love Undertale." In the publication Nurturing Affinity Spaces and Game-Based Learning, authors James Paul Gee and Elizabeth Hayes list 14 characteristics of nurturing affinity spaces. These are the ones that I feel are most apt when discussing the Undertale subreddit. 1. A common endeavor for which at least many people in the space have a passion, not race, class, gender, or disability, is primary. This is certainly the case. The only barrier to me joining the affinity space was subscribing. As soon as I could do that, I was able to participate. 2. Affinity spaces are not segregated by age. They are absolutely not. Or, in the context of this game, are they segregated by experience level? Everybody can join anywhere. 3. Newbies, masters, and everyone else share a common space. As previously stated, that is absolutely what's going on here. Everybody, from a new person like me to old hands, are participating in the same space. Everyone can, if they wish, produce and not just consume. I found that to be true, as shortly after joining, within a matter of weeks, I felt comfortable enough to post my own content or join in the discussion. And last one, I don't necessarily think this is particularly the case, but the development of both specialist and broad general knowledge are encouraged, and specialist knowledge is pooled. Frankly, I found there to be a very hesitant sentiment about sharing content of the game. Even when it comes to the various different endings of the game, people are very dedicated to the unofficial rule of no spoilers. So, as far as specialist knowledge goes, or general knowledge, maybe a little bit. However, people are frequently redirected to FAQ or other rules, and those questions often go unanswered. By and large, this is a space meant for expressing one's joy, expressing one's pleasure at playing Undertale.